Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the webinar for international students coming in for the fall of 2019. We're going to start with some introductions. So my name is Katie Lopez. I'm the director of the Office of Global Activities, and I'm actually also a graduate of our MSW program. So I graduated from the program in 2010. And just to give you a very quick overview, the Office of Global Activities runs various programs for MSW students primarily, and that includes working with students like you all, so degree-seeking international students, also short-term international students, visiting PhD students or faculty that are here, and then we also run a variety of different programs that are for students to go out and do different global activities. So we have students that'll do field placements or independent studies. So we run a variety of support services for visitors on campus or to the MSW program, as well as opportunities for students, MSW students, to engage in global options.
And I'm Xia Chen. You probably already got tons of emails from me last week. And I'm the social work resident at OGA, Office of Global Activities, and then I will be your point-to person when it gets to your classes, problems, questions for your classes, or even your life in Ann Arbor. And I graduated from the program that you're going to start in this May, very, very recent graduate. And so if you have any questions about the program or professors, you can always come to me, and then I'll be gladly to share my experience with you. And my other responsibilities at OGA is programs and then events, whatever Katie wants me to do, that's what I'm doing. Okay, yeah.
And we're a pretty small office, so there is one other staff member that you may receive messages from periodically, and her name's Keisha Bresna, and Keisha is our Global Opportunities Coordinator. So we're a pretty small office, but we hope we can provide you with a lot of support throughout your time in the MSW program. In terms of our webinar agenda today, the various topics we'll cover, we'll talk a little bit about the timeline, so what is happening and what's expected of you between now and when the fall semester starts. We'll talk about arrival logistics and life in Ann Arbor, so hopefully asking some of those more logistical questions around securing housing and how do you get from the airport and those types of things. We'll cover a little bit about academics. We'll have you all, if you want to introduce yourself, just say your name and where you're from at the end, and then we'll open up for question and answers. So again, if there is a question that arises as we're talking, please do use the chat feature to put those questions to us, and we'll answer them towards the end, or we'll follow up with you through email. So in terms of the timeline, here are some of the things that are happening between now and September 3rd when classes and your field placement begin. So all summer long, it's really important that you're reviewing any emails that you get, so you're checking your umich.edu email address. You should be receiving communications from our Office of Student Services or other administrative staff within the school directing you towards things that you should be doing. And so, for instance, if you're a student that is a 20-month student that's starting field in the fall, you should have already received communication about applying for your field placement, or you might have received follow-up communication from the field office. That's one example, and if you haven't already, you will soon be receiving information about registering for courses and the time of your course registration. So again, checking that U of M email address, it's really important that you get in the habit of doing that now, or having it forwarded to another email address that you're using frequently. Also, during the summer period is the time that if you think you might be exempt from one of our foundation courses, then you should be submitting your exemption request for those courses, and you should have received information from Office of Student Services about how to go about that. There's also the orientation toolkit, and we've linked it here. You should have received an email about that as well. And the orientation toolkit is a way of us kind of doing an online version of an in-person orientation. And so there are little videos from various offices within the School of Social Work to introduce who they are and to give you a little bit more information about what might be helpful. There's also, coming later this month, you'll be registering for classes. So again, that's why it's important that you check that UMich email, because you'll be getting information about how to register for classes, how to access the class, the course list, and then also your actual registration time and directions about how to do that once it's your time to register. Another really great resource that we highly recommend you take advantage of is the International Center on campus. So this is the International Center for all of campus, not just specific to the School of Social Work, but they run summer orientation sessions. And there's basically a couple weeks of these orientations. Many of them are repeated, so they'll do them a couple times throughout this period. But they're on all different kinds of things, from logistics like how to open a bank account or how to find housing or transportation in Ann Arbor, to other things like how to make friends with U.S. students, or what are some of the expectations around classroom involvement. So there's a variety of different sessions that the International Center offers, and Shia has actually worked in the International Center and helped with some of those orientation sessions. Shia, do you have anything to add about those?
Yeah, I feel like just echoing what Katie was saying. Sorry. They have really big range of topics, from like immigration to your like how to get a car, and how to, like Katie was saying, how to open a bank account, and then also more serious topics like sexual assault and harassment on campus, and how to deal with that. And so we really recommend you to go and check out from this link. And so you can click into the link, and then there's all the list of the workshops that you can register for it. Yeah.
And that's a great chance, too, to get to meet some other international students from across campus. So not just master's students in social work, but you might meet undergraduates or graduates in other programs like engineering or business. Then please mark your calendars. So the School of Social Work International Student Orientation will happen on August 26th. So that's the first Monday before classes start, from 9 to 4. And that's where we'll cover a lot more kind of practical logistics about the social work program. We'll have guest speakers from the different offices that you might be interacting with, like the field office, or some of the MSW directors, some of the different folks that you'll be working with while you're here. And so it's a great chance for you all to get to know each other. We'll feed you multiple times, hopefully provide some opportunity for connection among your cohort, and then also a lot of practical information that should be helpful. And during that period, if you haven't already done your physical presence check-in with the International Center to keep in your immigration status, that'll happen in the afternoon. So it's really helpful in that that's something you have to make sure that happens within those first couple of weeks of arrival. Then starting on the Tuesday through the end of that week is the School of Social Work Seed Week, which is the orientation week for all incoming students. And you'll be receiving more information about that, but you'll be signing up for a 1-credit mini course that you'll take with faculty, and there'll be various other sessions kind of orienting you to the school, getting you excited and ready to go, and the information that you need to start the program. And then there will be the weekend break, as well as you will have the Labor Day Monday off. And so there's no classes on that September 2nd date, the Monday, but then classes and fieldwork begin on Tuesday, September 3rd. And then you're into the semester and ready to go. So a couple of important web links that we wanted to share with you, things that you might want to be accessing now or will need to access once the program starts. Wolverine Access is what's considered kind of the online student center. So it's the website hub where you would access a lot of different functionalities that you would need through the university to do various things. So that includes registration, to view your financial aid, to see your class schedules. If you're a student that ends up working on campus, you'll access your time card or your paychecks from there. So Wolverine Access is one, and again, all of these are links, and so when we send out the slides, you'll be able to click on them and kind of check and explore that. But Wolverine Access is one that you'll be using a lot of. The link again to your UMich email account, again, you need to be checking that frequently. And then we use it here at University of Michigan, a course management system that's called Canvas. So it might be similar to something like Blackboard if people have used that before, but it's a course management system. So all faculty have a course set up through Canvas that they use to communicate with students, to store information like the syllabus or the class readings, or upload links, or that's where you'll submit assignments. So if you want to take a look at the Canvas student guide, you could definitely do that. And she has provided here a screenshot of what it looks like once you've logged into Canvas. And here's some of the information that you can look at. So if you're wanting to kind of get familiar with the online course management system ahead of time, you can look at the Canvas site for that. But all faculty use Canvas in some way, shape, or form for the course sites that they have. And then we also have some pre-arrival resources. that, again, have been sent out to you, but we highly recommend you spend some time exploring before you get here so that you know if you have questions about any of this. There's admitted student resources, that's on the School of Social Work website. There's important information for incoming students. There's the pre-arrival guide for international students. So again, trying to curate some of the content that's specific to you all as international degree-seeking students. There's an international student welcome booklet that was put together at the International Center, and Shia was one of the people that helped put that together as well. So again, we're trying to get you the information in a lot of different formats so that you can access it in the way that best makes sense for you. And then we also do have the School of Social Work International Student webpage, and that's been something that's been developed by a few of our past international students, including Shia, who have worked with the office, to try and kind of organize information that'll be helpful to you. So these are all links that you can go through at your leisure to kind of get more information and preparation as you get ready to arrive here for your MSW program.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, so speaking to arriving to Ann Arbor, I know I'm from Taiwan, and so when I was looking at options for MSW program, I specifically looked into Ann Arbor because I found out that it's a little city that's very, very convenient with its public transportation. And so from the beginning, when you are arriving at the Metropolitan Airport, DTW, way before maybe when you got onto the flight in your home country, I really recommend you to look into the transportation options for you to come into Ann Arbor from the airport. So the first option that I listed here is called Michigan Flyer. This is one option that I use the most because it's the cheapest, and then it's very frequent. So it's a huge bus from Ann Arbor, I think, and then they just have different schedules. And so if you click into this link and then go into the website and then look into your flight and to see what is the time that fits your flight arrival time, and then just book the ticket. And the ticket for each way is $12. The downside of this is you probably need to wait in the airport for the buses. And so if you don't want to wait and then you have a lot of luggages, I also recommend you to look into Uber, Lyft, and then Uber and Lyft is definitely cheaper than taxi, but there's also taxi around. And so if you haven't downloaded those apps, probably you can download them, link it to your bank account. Finally, just your own network. I know some of you probably already have friends over here, and so you can look up some options. And then when you are in Ann Arbor, there's several transportation options for you. The first is the U of M Blue buses. So we call it Blue Bus just because it's blue. And then it's free, and then you don't have to show your cards. You can just hop on the bus and then get out the bus. And then there's a link of the routes. There's several different routes going on every day. And then during the summer, there's a little less routes going on, but you can check out the routes and then the link and then to find out what's the way for you to get to the place that you want to go to. And the second one is called the ride. The ride, I call it white buses just because it's white, but if it's white, it means it's run by the city instead of the school. And so the ride is also free, but you will need to use your M card. So the M card is your ID card of the university. And so when you first come over here, you will go to the International Center, and then you will set up an M card. And then you can use this M card to swipe in the buses, and then you'll be able to take them for free. If you don't have your card with you, it's $1.50 for each ride. And again, there's also a link for you to look into it. And then the third one is Detroit Connector. This is only the transportation for you to go to Detroit and go to Dearborn. And so you can go into the link and then look up if you ever want to go to Detroit and then you don't want to take a Uber, take a Lyft, or you don't have a car yet, just go into the link, and then it's $6 for one way for U of M students. And then the fourth one, last year, our school just started a system called SSW, which is School of Social Work Ride Sharing. And so if we click into that link, I just checked it last week. I don't think there's any post on it yet, but it's a place to post ride sharing. So if there's a student who has a car and then they're driving to Detroit, or they're driving to Ypsilanti, which is like the closest city, they might post on it and to say, hey, I have 3 spaces. And so you can check on that link or even post on that link to say, I need a transportation. The 5th one, again, it's Uber, Lyft, or taxi. And the 6th one, it's car rental. I don't know about you, but like for me, like I tend to not want to get a car just because there's insurance and there's maintenance. There's a lot of things going on. And Ann Arbor actually has a good car rental system too, especially the Zip car, which there's a link there. You can sign up for an annual fee, and then I think every time when you rent the car, you just pay for like the time that you rent for it, and then you'll be able to drive it for a day, for a few hours, and it's very cheap with U of M students. All right, moving on. So when you actually get a car, and totally optional, I don't have a car, and I really recommend international students specifically to come here and then try it out for 1 or 2 months, because like I said, like Ann Arbor is very convenient, even if you don't have a car, not like other places in the US. And so, but if you once you get a car, you might hear parkings are very scarce in Ann Arbor, and so there's a lot of strategies for people to get parking space, and then sometimes it may be very expensive. So the 2 ways that we listed here, and there's more information at the bottom, but the 2 ways that we listed here, one is the commuter parkings. So the school set up a few commuter parking lots a little further from the central campus, and then for people who are commuting, they can park their car there and then take the bus to their schools or anywhere else that they want to take. And you can look into the link and then let me know if you have any questions. I'll say I'm not an expert because I don't have a car, but I'll try to find the answers for you. And the second one is parking pass. And so if you go into the website, and then you will see different kinds of options for you to buy a parking permit. And so once you have the parking permit, you put it on your car, and then people will know, oh, this is the parking lot that you can go to. This is the parking space that you can go to. And then finally, there's also like street parking that once in a while you can find it for free, but not totally guaranteed. Okay, moving on to housing. I don't know if all of you already found housing. I know finding housing, especially when you're abroad, it could be very, very stressful. So we put a few links here for you, and you can also go to the International Center website, like we introduced a little earlier. You can go on there. They also have pretty comprehensive lists up there too. And so a few things. So the majority of our students, they rent apartments in Ann Arbor or the neighboring Ypsilanti. So it's probably 15 minutes away from Ypsi. And I would say if you don't have a car, still try to find a place that's closer to either North Campus or the Central Campus where social work is at, because during the winter it can be a little hard to take buses to Ypsi and then come back, or anywhere that's further. Okay, and then so there's several options. There's on-campus housing, there's off-campus housing. For on-campus housing, which off-campus housing are also on campus actually, because you will find out Ann Arbor is very close, but on-campus housing usually refers to like housings provided by the university. So if you click into graduate and family housing, you'll be able to find a few like housing options. I don't want to say it's a dorm, but like for graduate students, it's more like apartments. And so there's 2 options. There's one on Central Campus called Munger, and then there's another one in North Campus called Northwood. And so the school offers it, but I know it also only have limited spaces. And so look it up, if there's still spaces that you can apply, it will be a good option. But a lot of other people also not use the school housing, and they find their own housing, which is the off-campus housing. The university has an off-campus housing website. So if you go into that website, you can actually set up your own account, and then you will see people who post they need a roommate, they don't need a roommate, and then you can also post your post to say, hey, I'm coming and certain time I'm looking for this amount of money for rent, and then the location on there, and then you will be able to see housing posts too. And then very similar logic from the off-campus housing website is the Craigslist. That one is totally not university run, and then it's like a marketplace throughout the US. And so if you go on this list, you can go and then just find the housing place and then find Ann Arbor housing, and then you'll be able to see all the other posts from non-university related people, or sometimes students or staff or faculty that will also post on there to list out their housing. Finally, it's very, very important. As international students, we need to make sure that we report to the immigration system about where we live. They always need to know that we have a physical housing and address. And so if you ever move, you need to go on Wolverine Access and then change your address within 10 days of your move. And so that the school will know, okay, you moved your address, and they will update it with the immigration. Okay, here are some more helpful links. Again, it's the International Center website. I go to this website a lot because the School of Social Work is a professional school, and then it's not totally linked with a lot of things and events or student services on campus, but the International Center is a place that they serve all international students regardless. And so if you have any questions about anything, just go to the International Center website, and I usually just type in and add a search blank, and then I will search for whatever that I need. And then I would say, like in social, where you can ask for every questions about your programs and then about the professors and about your study. But International Center is usually more helpful in terms of your immigration status or your other questions about your F1 visas. And yeah, and there's the summer orientation link again. Okay, and then some more helpful links. If you ever have some spare time, now that you're preparing to come over, you can check out these links about some events going on in the school. And so there's a lot of organizations outside of the School of Social Work that is very active. And so the Graduate Recom International organization, that's one organization that's set up and organized by international graduate students. And so Recom is kind of like a graduate schools, but social work is because it's a professional school, so it's not included in Recom. But still, graduate Green, we call it Green. This organization, we talked to them before, and then they're totally open to any students from social work too. So you can check it out. And then there's Facebook platforms that you can go into. So once you have your UMich unique name and password, I think you can request to go into the U of M Facebook page, and then there's also U of M Marketplace that you can just request and then get into it, and there's a lot of things happening on the page. And then there's Twitter account too. I personally don't have a Twitter, so I can't tell you what it looks like, but if you have it, you can definitely find out U of M in it. Other involvements, like I said, there's a lot of organizations going on, and there's the university musical societies, and then there's also athletic website. So there's a lot of sports going on, and there's a lot of artsy stuff going on in Ann Arbor. So it's really cool. I sometimes go to the auditorium. Sometimes they'll have free concerts or free performances for U of M students. So check them out. All right. Now let's come to the School of Social Work. If you click into this link, you will be able to see more layouts of the school. So we have 4 floors, and then the first picture that you see from the left, it's just the outside of our school. We are actually connected with the School of Education, and so these 2 buildings are connected together. And then the picture on the right, it's the lower atrium. That's where a lot of students study usually. So if you need the map for any information about our school, just click into that link because you will be able to see more things in the link.
Great, so we're going to shift now from logistics to talking a little bit more about the academic portion of your MSW program. And so one of the things that is part of the online toolkit that we referenced previously that has lots of the little short videos is there has been developed a massive open online course, or what's called a MOOC. And MOOCs are courses that are developed by many different schools across the country around a variety of different topics. But there's been one MOOC that's been designed specifically to give incoming students or anyone who's curious about social work kind of an overview and a guide to what social work is. So the MOOC talks about what is social work, the values that social workers have, frameworks that are used to guide practice. One of the things that I think often international students feel a little bit concerned about is understanding U.S. history and how that influences the policy and safety net services that we have or don't have within the U.S. And so there's one module that specifically touches on that kind of historical factors. And so that's important. Also gives an overview of what social justice means within the U.S. context. And then the last module is really around tips and support for incoming students. So the massive open online course, or the MOOC, is divided up into different modules. And so we would really recommend that you take your time to go through this MOOC before you come to kind of spread out your time in working on it. It's not going to be great to, spend a really concentrated 4 hours going through it, but to kind of divide up the different modules and go through it. But hopefully it'll provide you with some helpful context to what social work means, how the U.S. Social history and values have informed the practice. And so it's something that all incoming students are expected to have watched and gone through before they come to the program, so they all have some baseline knowledge. Then in terms of academics, we have 3 different curriculum tracks currently, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what each of them looks like. And so we have the 16-month schedule. And what that looks like is that you're here, everyone that's doesn't have a BSW degree is here for 4 semesters. So starting in the fall semester, you would only have courses that you're taking during the course of the week, and you would not have started field yet, and typically students are completing around 15 credits. Then starting in our winter term, or January through April, that's when you would start your field placement. So back here in the fall term around October, if you're a 16-month student, you'd be applying for your field placement. You'd start your field placement in January. And you can see the number of courses you are taking, or the credits, goes down a bit to compensate for your time in field. So typically students are in field 2 days a week, and they're doing classes 3 days a week. And again, they're taking around 15 credits. Then during the summer semester, field placement is intensified, so students are typically in field 4 days a week, and they are taking 2 classes, so much less coursework, and that's typically happening in 1 day. So there's 1 day of classes and then 4 days of their field placement. And then the final semester, again, looks similar to this kind of second semester where you're taking some classes, you're in field 2 days a week, and you're typically taking around 16 credits. There's a lot of variations on the kind of standard schedule, but this is what it typically looks like to be a 16-month student. For 20-month students, it's again 4 semesters, but you're not taking any classes during our spring-summer semester, and your field placement is broken up pretty evenly. So you're doing 2 days of field throughout the entire 4 semesters that you're here. So you can see that reflected in this line. And typically students are in 1 placement for fall through winter semester of their first year. They may choose to stay in that same field placement for their second year, but many 20-month students choose a different field placement for their second field experience or their second year. So I was a 20-month student when I was in the program. I had 1 field placement for my first 2 semesters, and then I did switch to a different field placement for the second. And then throughout, you are taking your different coursework as well, so typically spread out over 3 days a week to accommodate the 2 days a week of field. And you can see here the kind of common credit breakdown for the various semesters. We didn't include an advanced standing one because I think this year I don't know that we have any advanced standing students that are international students, but if we're incorrect about that and one of you does have a BSW degree and you want to talk more about what the curriculum schedule looks like for that, Shia and I would be happy to follow up through email afterwards.
of that is the 16-month schedule and the 20-month schedules. And then we have a link here for incoming field students. And then there's another link that was specifically tailored to international students that was developed by the Office of Field Instructions last year, especially because of transportation. For example, I don't have a car, and so I was looking at fields that's closer to campus. And so you can click into this web page, and then you will be able to see some more information for international students. And on that link, there's an email, and then there's also a phone number for you to call. And so there are field faculty at the field office that they're very, very helpful, and they're very, very nice to international students. And so don't feel shy to talk to the field faculty about any of your needs or questions or even concerns. They're very, very, very willing to help you out with it, even in a very early stage or when you are already in field. If you go into the second bulletin, there's the webinar recording from the field placements. So Katie just gave a really great overview about the 16 months and 20 month students. If you go into this link, they also did a webinar a few months ago about everything about field placement. Okay, so one thing that's very different being an international student from a U.S. domestic student is something called CPT, Curricular Practical Training, that all international students need to apply and then get approved by before we start our field. And so if you are on F1 status, and if you're not on F1 status, like please just reach out to me and I will be able to find information for you. But if you're on student visa, then we all need to get CPT before we even start or go to do any volunteering or kind of work at our field placements. And then we will need to register for the field courses, which is 515 and 691 in different semesters. So we need to register for this class first, and then we will need to apply for CPT with like the proof of I already registered for these classes, because CPT basically means that you are doing these kind of works and or volunteering because of course curriculum work. There's more information for you down here. So each term, this is very important. So each term we need to apply for it. So it's not like, oh, I applied for it at the beginning of my study and then like I don't need to do it anymore. And then like what Katie was explaining about field placement, sometimes for especially 16-month students, you have only one placement for your entire time doing field work, but you still need to apply for your CPT every semester. So you, at the end of, for 16-month students, at the end of your program, you will apply for 3 times of CPT and do 1 field placement. And for 20-month students, if you stay in 1 placement for like 2 rounds for 2 years, you will need to apply for 4 CPTs and then 1 placement. But if you, like Katie, switch your placement in the second year, you will need to apply for still 4 CPT and then in your 2 placements. I know this might be a little confusing, but let me know if you have any questions. And then there's also a link down there, how to apply for CPT. We have a step-by-step guide for you to look into it.
And the CPT is something that we will talk more about during the orientation on that first Monday. I think it's the 26th that you come. We'll have more information about CPT, and then particularly important for 20-month students who will be starting their field placement right away. We'll be going through part of that process with you then. But it is important that you receive any emails about CPT or filling anything out, that you're very attentive to them, because you don't want to delay your ability to start your field placement because you haven't gotten that approval yet. And that's something that's beyond the school's control. It's something that the Department of State is put in place for students that are international degree-seeking students.
Yeah. Okay, finally, last but not least, we want to let you know that you're very, very welcome to the University of Michigan School of Social Work, and especially our office is here. We will back you up if you ever have anything that you're concerned or you have questions of. And so here are some tips from just current and our alumni international students. And so the first is get to know other international students and the local students. to form your own support network. So network is very important, especially in the field of social work, because you're constantly giving yourself out and you're constantly empathizing with other people. And so it's really important to build your own support group and the people that you can trust and share knowledge, and also share just even complaints or anything with them. And then be open to new cultures. I'm not sure if any of you have been to the US or Michigan or Ann Arbor, but living here and then studying a program is totally different from like living in our own country. And so you will start to meet a lot of new people and then get to know a lot of new things in Ann Arbor. And just be open, because it's actually fun to get to know new culture, and then it's fun to learn about a new custom and or like drink something new or eat something new. It's all very, very fun when you just bring your perspective to another side and then open it up. And then don't be afraid to reach out, be proactive, and self-direct your learning. So I hope that if you don't get any messages from today, like you get this, like don't be afraid to ask Katie and I any questions, or reach out to anybody in the school. We're all here to help, and then we're all here to make your experience here the best one that you can get. And so let us know if you have anything that you have question with. And then be ready to gain a lot of understandings of policies and American context. This is one for a class that you are going to have. And so studying in social work, you will get to know a lot of local policies and U.S. like cultural legislation, not just on the surface, but you will need to know it, because there's a lot of things evolving, and then there's a lot of current issues and then current events going on in the U.S. every day. And so that's something that you will need to, you will be starting to get to know. From my experience, when I first came to the program, I didn't know anything about like the U.S. news and then what's going on with the presidential campaign and all of that. But those sometimes can be hard to absorb, but then throughout your journey here, like you're going to get to know them more. And now, like when I look back, I feel like it's very beneficial for me to get to know them more, because it's actually applicable to a lot of different systems, not just in the U.S. And then finally, culture shock is real, but we're here for you. Again, we're here for you. And then there's a lot of academic advisor, and then the International Center and the university has a lot of offices like CAPS, it's the psychology counselors, and then Office of Student Services, and then legal services if you need somebody with like in terms of the law, like or like your lease with your housing. Like the university has all these places for you to go to and then to seek help. And Office of Financial Aid, if you need any financial aid, also don't be reserved to reach out. There's a lot of resources in the university that could be helpful for you. And then there's a lot more things. At the bottom, I list the list of like a contact information for all of our international alumni and current students. Our alumni and current students are all very willing to answer your questions. And so if you click into that link, you can see all their contact information and then what they study, what was their program, what was their track. And you can look up the person that like fits yours the most, and then you can reach out to them. And if you don't get any reply, they probably are not checking their email. So let me know, and then I will try to see what's a good way for me to help you out with that.
Great. So I think at this point, we've probably overloaded your brains with lots of information, but just to remember that we will be sending out the recording of this webinar along with the slides so that you can click on some of these links and take some time to go through them. Also know that we will be providing information for you at the orientation. And as Shia said, our office is really here to help support you in any way that we can, so don't hesitate to reach out with questions. So what we're going to do at this point is we want to give everyone just a chance to quickly unmute themselves and introduce themselves to the group. So we'll have people unmute themselves. If you can share your name, your country of citizenship, and then you can pick one or the other of these questions. But what's one hobby or interest that you have? and what is one volunteer or work experience that you feel has prepared you well for social work? Okay, it looks like maybe that's everyone who wants to introduce themselves. You can also go ahead and send us an email. So I think Shia has been in contact with you already last week, so you can reply to some of those messages. Or my email is kalopez, so KALOPEZ @umich.edu. And we're happy to answer any questions that way. And Shia will be following up with slides from this presentation, the recording, and then other resources throughout the summer. And as we said, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need something. I think sometimes students think they're the only ones with this question, and often you're not. There's somebody else that's wondering, and that would be helpful, whether it's just to confirm what they already think they know or something they hadn't thought of that they didn't know that they even wanted to ask. So please do reach out to us in any way. But thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you have a good morning or evening, wherever it is that you are, and we look forward to meeting you later this August.
Yeah, this is a photo of our current students and some students who already graduated from last year's orientation. So I'm really excited. It's so nice to hear your voices today. And then I'm really looking forward to the orientation on August 26th to see your faces and also just get to know you throughout the program. So yeah, looking forward to meet you.
Thanks for joining in.